You know, as soon as week one gets into the books, Monday nights here on 95.7 The Game, you're going to be hearing our friend Sean Salisbury and Lorenzo Neal host the Football Hour right after this program. We're very happy to welcome in our pal Sean Salisbury to this program here on 95.7 The Game. By the way, your best 49ers preseason coverage available on that Odyssey app, which is free. You should download it today. And today, thank God, is our preseason finale. We're almost done. Sean, thank you for joining us. How are you, pal?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm glad to be on with you guys. Thank you.
It is good to have you here. It's great to have you back with the station for another season, man. This is a beautiful relationship we've got with you. So I'm glad that it continues. And
the same way.
Yeah, man, it's really good to have you on the team. There is no doubt. You make us better. You make all of us smarter. And I wanted to ask you about how much preseason has changed from the days of your days to now, because it feels like it's almost two different languages and at different expectations. And the way that head coaches now shut down starters sometimes throughout the entirety of a preseason is just so foreign to the world that you lived in.
Yeah, it is. It's 180 degrees different. Now, for coaches, it hasn't changed, guys, because, if they had their way without the CBA, we'd have 5 weeks of training camp, and you'd put on pads and hit two-a-days for 2 days in a row, take a day off, and then go at it again, because they want all the practice time they can get, and I understand it. But, we don't have to document what the CBA's done. You get paid more, you work less, and sometimes it's sloppy, and you're trying to preserve guys. We're playing less games and playing our guys less. I have changed over the years, too. I remember my rookie year heading into the fourth preseason game that David Craig, who was our starter in Seattle, and I had fortunately had a great preseason, so we had 6 quarterbacks. I was the sixth one and had one of those preseasons that I needed to make the team. And the final preseason game at Candlestick Park for us was David Craig and I split time in the fourth preseason game, 2 quarters each. And that was who would do that now? With a veteran like David Craig, right? I could see giving me a whole game, but David Craig, and we saw Largent play. We were into it. So it's changed now, and I have too. I prefer joint practice as long as Aaron Donald's not swinging a helmet trying to kill somebody. But I love joint practices because I can control, like the Zach Wilson out of the pocket like he ran in the game. I can go full speed, but once he crossed the line of scrimmage, I hit that whistle so he doesn't take that hit trying to be a hero in a preseason game that's useless when it comes to record during the season. Preseason's now it should be for a bubble guy, maybe a new coach and a new player, even a Trey Lance or a Davis Mills, who got some experience last year, not a lot of it for Trey. I don't need much once I know that they're going to be my guys. So I've changed, too. I would prefer to have joint practice and a lot of practice, eliminate another preseason game, and add another regular season game. And quite frankly, we may even get to the point where it's like college one day, Damon, is that we get to the point where it's like, you know what, let's just have scrimmages with other teams, and let's practice, and we'll do what college does. We'll hit the ground running, so we save these injuries and losing guys like Teron Smith. They're going to happen, but I'm with them now. But it's changed because we'd go practice, and we'd practice 2.5 hours in pads 2-3 days in a row. Now you're not even allowed to do it. So we may have been more prepared because we were in it longer, but we were sure as hell you'd wear out, but you were ready for it to go and beat on somebody else. So I get it. I understand the sloppy play, but I would not let my starters, for the most part, I wouldn't play them 5 snaps in the preseason anymore. And I used to think you should play them a lot. I don't believe in it anymore.
What was the tipping point for you on that? Was it the first time Sean McVay said, I'm not going to do it? Or did you need some time to sort of get used to thinking about training camp differently?
When they, like at certain positions, Ray, when LaDainian Tomlinson, the Chargers just never played him in a game. And I watched when I was a rookie, even though it was back then, like Kenny Easley, whose legs, his feet, we needed to rest. He's had some knees, Kenny did, but boy, we needed him on Sunday. I thought, I don't really care if he ever plays it down. He's veteran enough. He's in shape. Kind of walk through in sweats, but when the game flew, he was flying around and fresh. I'd rather have him for the season. So I think the full tipping point for me, and it's not the soft thing, well, I don't want a guy to get hurt. I know guys get hurt. It's a violent game, but I can sure as heck limit it as much as possible. I know how I made the team, Ray, when I played, and I think that is going in, we know if they're picking 53 to 60 guys, they know 85% to 90% of them. It's the one guy like me who had to have the preseason game that's ironic that I'm saying, because I needed games, but in truth, had I have played poorly in practice, in 7-on-7, in blitz pickup, I'd have never got that time in a game. I'd have got a little bit and I'd have been cut. So practice is where you make the teams, and I can specify certain drills, but the tipping point for me is, in truth, unless it's a bubble guy or a young guy who needs work, and I get it, what am I going to learn about Trey Lance tonight? That September is going to tell me. We play about 3 or 4 coverages in a preseason. You may blitz a little bit, but you're not going to see a steady diet of what teams do to confuse you. You're not, and what's 8-10 plays going to do for Aaron Rodgers in the preseason? What is 10 plays in tonight's game, or even a half, if he plays half, do for Davis Mills? Get him a little confident, take 2.5 more weeks off, and tee it up against the Colts in game 1. So for me, I really don't know what we're accomplishing other than risk. What's bigger, the reward or the risk? Every now and then you'll see the 5th-round pick flying around, and you realize, or the bubble veteran who, is 8 years in, makes a lot of money, but maybe isn't come prepared enough in camp. You'll see that on the practice field. All the games are is a validation. And the truth is, the intensity, some of these young players are not going to have any idea. It's more intense on the practice field for some. They're not going to have any idea when they open up in September just how fast it's going to go from the 3rd preseason game to the opening game of the regular season. So I just try to figure out, what am I going to learn? That a guy knew how to run a 12-yard curl and get out of the huddle? I should know that in the practice field, because I put him under duress in the practice field. So I'm not putting Matt Stafford at risk for a stupid 4 throws in a preseason game. I can do that on the practice field. I think it's overrated now. I really do.
Our friend Sean Salisbury here on 95.7 The Game. So we are going to get some Trey Lance, a series or 2 tonight. Kyle Shanahan, obviously more than anything else, wants to see him end the game on a healthy note and a little consistency on any and all passing plays. But other than that, what is to be gleaned? What is a coach looking for in a completely entrenched starting quarterback in a meaningless couple of series? I mean, you just kind of talked us through it. I can't believe Shanahan's doing it either. They're not playing Trent Williams tonight. You would never see my starting quarterback without my starting left tackle.
I wouldn't do it, Ray. The second Trent goes out and George Kittle or anybody's playing, I'm not. That's my thing. If I had questions, let's say you're in Seattle, okay, right tonight, right, guys, with Drew Lock and that situation.
Right,
I still am trying to find out, even though they know, and you and I both know they know, and Ray, they know who they want to play and who they're going to start unless that guy gets hurt. And the only way he gets hurt is by running him out there. So when so we give 2 series. I'm going to tell you what it's for, Damon, it's for the feel-good feeling. So he comes off the field, you give him a bubble screen, you run a little naked boot and hit the guy in the flat, maybe take a shot down the field, and then, okay, we took it down there, drove down, got a field goal, got a touchdown, had 10 to get him out. Okay, so let's say that happens and he goes 9 for 9 in one series. They just decide to throw and get it out, and he did.
We'll see you in the Super Bowl, everybody. Are you kidding?
Right. What am I going to learn tonight if he goes 9 for 9 or if he goes 3 for 17? Are we all of a sudden going to go with the overreaction stupidity that says, the guy can't play? He was 4 out of 15 in a preseason game. What's going to happen when it goes, yep, we're going to the Super Bowl. He was 12 out of. If that's the case, then let's cancel the season because Kenny Pickett's winning the MVP in Pittsburgh, right? Hey, he's had a hell of a preseason. But my point, the risk doesn't have the reward. And if I'm running my starter who's entrenched, what the hell am I going to learn? And why would I do that with somebody else? It is a feeling, and it goes all over the league. But if I was coaching a team and I knew a guy was entrenched, I'd rather keep him fresh. Now, the other thing is with 2.5 weeks before a game, that's a long time without competitive. That's why on the practice field, I am committed to putting my players under duress without taking them to the ground so we can at least get as close to simulation as possible. I don't think we learn very much at all other than a staff and fans feeling good about your players because no matter what happens, Trey Lance is starting unless he gets hurt. Trey Lance is starting, and he'll never look back and say, you know what, my game against the Texans in the preseason, boy, that screwed me for the third game of the season. You'll never go back and look at this tape again. And neither will the coaches once tonight's over. They're moving on.
I want to turn this a little bit because there's talk among the bonehead crew that, not you, Damon, I'm talking about rumor mongers.
Thank you.
That Jimmy Garoppolo might end up in Seattle. If so, what can he tell the Seahawks about the 49ers that the Seahawks coaches can't already see on video? Is there a huge advantage anymore in picking up a guy from somebody else in your division, or is that faded as well?
Faded. Ray, the only time for me is, and people change, like when you play a team twice a year back in the day when we'd wig-wag signals in, if you were like the backup quarterback, you'd look over there seeing if you could pick tendencies up like, okay, but by the time you get it, that the quarterback gets to the line of scrimmage, and you tell your defensive coach, and he gets it to the coordinator, puts it in, the clock's running out. Hey, cover two. Hey, look, be alert for the slot. Okay, it may make a difference once in a while. That was so few and far between. Now, you go in if you're Jimmy, and you sit in and say, okay, here's their audible checks. Well, Kyle's not an idiot. Of course they changed the color or the number, the live color, the dummy color or number we use, and you go to it, and you get so caught up in game planning, you're not even thinking about, hey, Jimmy, there may be a few tendencies like Jimmy could say, Kyle loves Trey Lance on the edge on 3rd and 4 or less once you cross midfield. Maybe something like that, but, Ray, you hit it. The tape's going to tell you everything you need to know. So, to me, it is probably as overrated as anything on the planet of, we got a linebacker from the division. Look out. Really? Okay. He's still worried about the crap he's got to do. He's focused on his job. So you'll have a few conversations. Hey, man, do they like this route combo on the curl flat combo? Do they ever run curl flat and then run the wheel route off it? Yeah, you may see it. We ran it twice in practice, but you never saw it in a game. But they do have it in their playbook. That's it. That is it. And so to me, it's overrated. Now, just for the sheer fact that Jimmy himself knows the tendencies and weaknesses that he's seen on his own defense, maybe that helps, and he's a better player than either quarterback they got in Seattle now, Geno or Drew Lock. But the advantage of, this is what – I don't care if it's Tom Brady going in the division to the New Orleans Saints. They're not getting a great advantage because players still got to do it, and I learned so much on tape, and it's so instantaneous now, Ray, with video and on the sidelines. There's nothing Jimmy's going to tell him about the 49ers that the Seahawks don't already know if he goes there. Although for the Seahawks, it's an upgrade. They got a better chance to win if Jimmy's playing for them. But if I wouldn't trade him there unless I got a deal I couldn't resist. But just for that sheer superstitious part of it, but it sure as hell ain't because he's going to pick up on game planning. If he does that, then we're an awfully stupid franchise if we allow a player to waltz into a building and pick apart our game plan, and we haven't changed.
Davis Mills was hidden in plain sight down on the farm, Sean. I mean, we knew about him. We saw him play. Stanford didn't necessarily have any impressive amount of success under his watch. He looked like he had an NFL body, maybe even an NFL arm, probably an NFL career. But as a starter, as someone who, a franchise turned to and then remained on his page thinking this could be the right page for us to read, I don't think any of us saw that. How surprised are you to see Davis Mills really find favor in the Houston organization?
I may be in a little bit of minority, and Kirk Herbstreit came on today, who's calling the games now with Al on Amazon, and he said what I've been saying for Davis for a long time. I coached Davis Mills when he was in high school. Now, that's a long way removed from the NFL and Stanford University. But I got him as a freshman, going into his freshman year, and they sent him up to me at an all-star camp in Virginia. And the coach said, we'd like to send him up to you so you get eyes on him. Tell me what you think. And his private trainer was also coaching at this 500-kid camp. I said, okay, send him up to me. And he was better than anybody I had, and I had about 10 Division I players up with me with the juniors and seniors, sophomores, juniors I was coaching. At the end of one practice, I went to the coach and the director of the camp. I said, this guy's the best guy I got. I got to keep an eye on him. And I told his private quarterback trainer, I said, they're special about him. When he drops back, you can't hear his feet clunk against the ground. And there was a calmness about him. And so that's a freshman. I think, okay, what happens? Doesn't play much at Stanford, gets hurt, plays 11 games, starts 11 games. Damon, I actually tell you this, I think at the end of this year, and Kirk Herbstreit echoed it today, a team's not very good, so how do you quantify, well, is wins and losses his success? I think he's got a chance to prove that you're not going to need to draft somebody in the first round. Had he been picked this year, and I've talked about 4 or 5 other guys that study it, like I do and are experts at studying it, they think that had he come out this year, he's drafted ahead of Kenny Pickett.
Wow.
And because he's a big body, I saw him last year. Guys, he got abused after the Buffalo game. He looked like a quarterback. You're like, gosh, dang, it was embarrassing. But you never heard him change, and he's not changed. So I understand their commitment, and I'm going to tell you right now, after his last 6 games last year, think about how the narrative, Damon and Ray, would change if he had the first-round draft label on him. Think about Fields and Zach Wilson and Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence. He outplayed every one of them. He was the best of all of them the last 6 games. Mac Jones, the only one really even close. If he was a first-round pick, you know what we'd be saying, Damon? We'd be saying, man, I can't wait to see a full season of this guy. That's what we'd be saying. But he's a third-rounder, so there's a stigma. Well, he's not a franchise guy. And I can tell you this, anybody that thinks after one season and not even a full season, whether it's Trey Lance or Fields or Davis Mills, that we can look at and say he's going to be a franchise guy or he's going to be a bust, then I want to, whatever you're drinking and smoking, because I don't know many experts that can judge a guy on bad football teams and say he's going to be that after, 12 games.
You know what I think happened?
So I think he's got a chance to be really good. I don't know how special yet, but he's got every quality you want. He may not be the best at any of them, but he's really good at all of them. So I'm anxious to see. If he has a good season, it will not shock me if they don't have to draft a quarterback in the first round. I hold him in high regard.
I think Patrick Mahomes ruined us all.
Yeah, that was his second year, though, too.
Right.
Damon, remember.
Yeah.
It was his second year, and that's the problem. What we see with Zach Wilson and these guys, that should be the norm. Struggle. Peyton Manning throw 28 picks as a rookie. John Elway struggle with accuracy. Troy Aikman 1-11, and they end up Hall of Fame and make adjustments. But Mahomes comes in, throwing off schedule, throwing it behind his back, doing all this. Even Josh Allen, who's marvelous, wasn't real good his rookie year. We saw flashes. And so now every guy that comes out, well, he's not Mahomes after 9 games, get him out, got to go, which is unfair. But I'll be able to tell you in December of this year what you got moving forward. It's unfair to him or anybody else to label him that. But, guys, I'm going to tell you, if they give him some time and Pep Hamilton does what he knows how to do, and they play smart, you're going to find the kid can play, and the stigma would be different. If you flip-flop Matt Ryan, let's say Ryan Tannehill and Davis Mills today, and I respect Ryan Tannehill, and switch teams, that team in Tennessee will play every bit as good with Davis Mills in his second year as Ryan Tannehill is now. You don't lose anything, and you'd still be one of the favorites in the division if you flip-flop the two.
Real quick, how did the end of the Deshaun Watson story play in Houston? I mean, I know how it played nationally. Right. I know how it played here. How did it play in Houston?
Majority of people, Ray, it was like the transformation of, well, what's over the last year and a half, when it first started, this is ridiculous, he's our franchise guy. You started to see the slow burn, and then it got to get him out. That was the majority of, I've had enough, get him out. And not even just the stuff off the field, Ray, the fact that even before that, he didn't want to be there. And you know how fans take that personal. He wanted out even before the legal stuff. But it got to the point that people were calling his bluff of, the lack of remorse, in their opinion, whatever their moral compass is. They knew they were losing a great player, but were so tired and exhausted and fatigued over it. The majority, I'd say 85% of the people I dealt with, or the buzz was, let's move on. There's some enthusiasm about Davis Mills and Nick Casario's draft. They were tired of it. Now, there was a small percentage that said, this is still stupid, you should have never traded him, all that. But the majority of fans in here were tired of it. And when the Astros are winning, it makes it easy on them. And I think most of us, you know what, it became Cleveland's issue now, and that we get good players. And they were bummed that he's getting to play some this year because they wanted a higher draft pick, and he's a great player. But most of them were done with him, Ray, and done with him in the city, and still are. Now Davis Mills has an opportunity without that hovering over him to see what he can do.
So, Sean, as you know, I went to a Big Ten school, and in a year from now, you will have gone to one too. Can you believe that USC and UCLA are joining the Big Ten? I mean, money aside, and we understand the money's significant.
Right.
And I love it, and I also am nauseated by it.
Agreed. That was me. My initial thought was, when you get over that emotional tie, we've had is Big Ten. And Herb Street was talking about it today. I said, when I say name, image, and likeness or transfer portal, what's the first thing you think about? And it was like, whoa. Because he's a little more traditionalist with that. You knew when you were playing Ohio State, it was in the Rose Bowl. Competition-wise, after I set back, money and competition, it's better. The Big Ten, the depth of the Big Ten right now is better than the Pac-12, and we know that for all those reasons. But the sentimental side at first bothered me, but then I realized, okay, you could be waking up playing Ohio State in September and not have to wait till January, then follow that up with a game against Michigan, then Penn State. The travel's a pain in the rear end, but I don't have a problem with it because I like playing the best. But the sentimental part's really the only part that bugs me. It's just going to look different. But as you guys know, there ain't anything about college football that's going to be noticeable for us when we were growing up, and now it's changing. And some for the better, and some a very slippery slope to put us in a very, very unique and different position in college football.
I can't help but notice you didn't say you were worried about that trip to Bloomington. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, it's great to have you on the show. It's great to have you on the station. We look forward to the football hour again Monday nights, starting when the year gets underway here on 95.7 The Game for an hour with our pal Lorenzo Neal. Thank you so much, Sean.
Always an honor to be on with you guys. Thanks, bud.
There he is.